I'm sure there are many stories that you heard while on your travels, and
I see what you're doing.
I want to
segue
into the theme for this summer, which is inside stories. And if you could just talk a little bit about the theme and sort of how it influenced the programming.
Yeah, I wanted to explore, many pieces tell stories, but I wanted to explore specifically music that really embodies stories and tells stories and narratives that are told through music in all its different forms, from stories about perseverance and triumph and resilience to stories about intrigue and scandal, and to the stories about the instruments themselves. So every concert has a different slant on what it is to tell story through music.
Absolutely. And so let's move on to opening night, which we are all very much looking forward to, and sort of a more overt use of inside stories with the use of spoken word. And so if you could talk a little bit about the program tonight and sort of the uniqueness of this evening.
Yeah, we're starting actually, the whole opening weekend is somewhat kind of devilish. We start with an evening called A Deal with the Devil. Every piece on the program has something to do with the devil and the deals made with him. We start with a few instrumental pieces. I start with a very virtuosic piece, solo piano piece that Liszt wrote on a scene from Faust. And in the scene, Faust and Mephistopheles go into an inn, and the devil picks up a violin and makes everybody dance around and gives Faust the courage to seduce this young woman. And you hear it all in the music, and you hear the seduction. You hear them going into the forest at the end, and the nightingale sings. You hear the orchestra kind of tuning in the beginning. So it's really very evocative. And the concept of the violin, of the devil playing the violin, is a very old one, and it carries through to the next couple of pieces. The Tartini Devil's Trill, which is by a composer Tartini, who says that this piece was played to him in a dream, that he had this dream that the devil was playing this sonata to him, and he woke up and wrote it down. And then Augustine Hadley will play that. I'll play the harpsichord on that. And we go to Paganini's Caprice, a very famous, one of the most famous tunes ever written. And Paganini had this reputation that he made a deal with the devil because nobody could understand how he could be so virtuosic. So virtuosity has always been associated with the devil, but Paganini has always been the kind of emblem of selling your soul to the devil for that ability. And then, of course, Soldier's Tale. The Stravinsky's multi-genre work for narrator, group of instruments kind of representing an orchestra.
And typically dance.
And originally for dance, but I had this idea, and I engaged this unbelievable company to create live puppetry and animation to the story.
And puppets, not the typical puppets, but 2D paper puppets.
Yeah, what they do is that they create this unbelievable Nick, who's here, unbelievable illustrator. He creates these drawings that they turn into cut-out puppets, and then they make these films in front of a camera on stage, where all these are being manipulated so that you see projected this film happening in real time using these puppets. It's really, well, I don't need to describe it too much. You're about to see it.
And then the next evening, again, this idea of narration is incorporated, and so we have, would you like to hear a little clip of?
Oh yeah, I'll just set it up a little bit because the next concert is Dance Macabre, and it's all about these kind of macabre dances and kind of devilish dances that happen from kind of from the darkest to the lightest. And this is actually one of the more light, humorous version of that, of this macabre And this is a set of 3 poems by Roald Dahl called Dirty Beasts, about these evil little creatures, for narrator and ensemble.
And we have the wonderful Danny Burstein, who will be narrating that performance as well as opening night, multi-Tony Award winning, incredible actor. And so, but here is a clip, I believe, of the original recording of the first movement, The Pig, and it's Simon
Callow.
Simon Callow.
Move it up a little bit.
In England once there lived a big and wonderfully clever pig. To everybody it was plain that Piggy had a massive brain. He worked out sums inside his head. There was no book he hadn't read. He knew what made an airplane fly. He knew how engines worked and why. He knew all this, but in the end, one question drove him round the bend.
Yeah, you'll see, and it gets quite wonderfully dark, as Roald Dahl is wont to do.
And so then, to complete the weekend on Passions and Storms, do you want to talk a little bit about?
Passions and Storms is actually about the cross-pollination between Beethoven, Tolstoy, and Janacek. So Tolstoy wrote a novella called Kreutzer Sonata, inspired by Beethoven's Kreutzer Sonata, the violin sonata called Kreutzer Sonata, which itself has a pretty kind of dark and contentious history, because Beethoven was kind of jealous of a violinist, and anyway, so many stories. But then Tolstoy wrote a novella based on a woman who falls in love with a violinist who's not her husband, because she hears him play that sonata, and then what happens after that. And then Janacek wrote a quartet called the Kreutzer Sonata, based on Tolstoy. So we kind of explore these stories and these relationships between one of the great composers, Janacek, really just amazing composer, Beethoven, and all in between.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So then we take a little break, and then we come back to the concert hall on Wednesday for a performance where, just to remind some of you, or if this is the first time you're here or going to the Wednesday performance, it's a little over an hour, no intermission, and then we toast with a glass of champagne, if you're over 21, in the courtyard afterwards. And so it's just a beautiful way to connect. The musicians come up and to talk about the wonderful program that we just experienced.
Yeah.
But this evening, titled Amadeus, again, a little bit more of the idea of the spoken word, of the narrative aspect of a performance.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you remember the movie Amadeus. Yep. And there's a particularly incredible scene. I mean, it's such a great movie and Oscar-winning movie. But one of the scenes there, the first time that Salieri hears the music of Mozart, he hears the Grand Partita. It's one of Mozart's most famous and great works for 13 wind instruments. And at that point, he just hears the slow movement, and he has this incredible monologue about... Oh, you can play it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a little bit of the monologue, if you want to play that, Allison.
That's not it.
On the page, it looked nothing. The beginning simple, almost comic. Just a pulse, bassoons, basset horns, like a rusty squeeze box. And then, suddenly, high above it, an oboe. A single note hanging there, unwavering. Until a clarinet took it over. Sweetened it into a phrase of such delight. This was no composition by a performing monkey. This was a music I'd never heard.
Yeah. So we have the entirety of the Grand Partita, and with 13 of the best wind players in the world, including some especially imported from the UK for the occasion. And we also have Tony Amendola, one of the very renowned actors who played Salieri actually not too long ago.
At the North Coast.
At the North Coast repertory. He's also in Stargate and all sorts of TV things. But he's going to be here, and he's going to read...
Don't let the Comic-Con fans know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, oh my God.
We have a few on staff that...
And so he's going to be reading a couple scenes from Amadeus before intertwined with some of the musicians, followed by a full performance of Grand Partita. I think this is a kind of not to be missed event.
And then the next night, typically in the past we've had takeovers in the J. But for this particular takeover with Thomas Addis.
Yeah, just to kind of a takeover is the name that we've, if you haven't been, it's the name that we give the carte blanche concert that we give to a renowned composer. So a composer comes and programs, takes over one of the places, usually here, and they program a concert of their music, but also contextualized with other music. So we've had composers contextualize their music with Ravel, with Baroque, with all sorts of things, and with other composers. And last year we had the very renowned and very brilliant Thomas Addis do one here and curate one here, and it was so successful, and the entire residency was so spectacular that Tom is again our composer in residence this year. He's conducting tonight. He's conducting the Stravinsky, and then he will be taking over. And because it's such a big deal, he's going to be taking over the Bakerbaum Concert Hall for his takeover and doing a U.S. premiere of one of his pieces. He's going to be playing a concerto by Defaya, originally for harpsichord and a small ensemble, but he's going to be doing it on piano. And then we're going to be featuring a piece by Francisco Cole, his only composition student and one of the great powers in contemporary music scene today.
And I think we have a little clip of the piece Turia.
Oh, great, yeah, and actually both the solo piece, Tom's piece and Turia are written for guitar. And we have with us one of the great guitarists from the UK, Sean Sheba, who's won Grammys recently, and he's just a brilliant guy. And I can't wait for the audiences here to get
And we almost named the festival, I think, British Invasion.
Yeah, there are a lot of people in the UK.
Because we have more people from across the pond in the UK than I think we've ever had during the festival.
Yeah.
So the artists in the US are going to start getting a little
Well, you know,
wonder.
I think one of the things that I always try to do is bring back people that have been here and that are loved, but also introduce new faces, and people that don't normally get to play in San Diego that often. I mean, some of these people play at the proms and are just some of the biggest names around, but they don't get to San Diego that often. So I'm thrilled with the kind of the roster this year.
So yeah, let's hear a little bit of the Cole.
It's a little soft. Can you read this? It's a beautiful piece, and Tom is going to conduct it. And so one thing we didn't get him to do last year, because he's one of the great conductors, conducts the most major orchestras in the world, Berlin, Boston, and all of these. So he's going to be conducting not only tonight, but also this piece.
And then we conclude the first full week of the festival with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of the following weekend, starting with the Baroque program with another master of his craft, Jonathan Cohen.
Jonathan Cohen, yeah, he's again another Brit. He's a brilliant, brilliant conductor and harpsichordist who I worked with last year on tour with a group. He's a music director of the Le Violon de Roi, who I believe have been here, the Canadian orchestra, Baroque orchestra. And I was so bowled over by Jonathan, or Johnny as we call him. So I immediately invited him over, and he's going to lead from the harpsichord this program that's all about how Baroque music tells stories, from well-known stories, Don Quixote, Shakespeare, Midsummer's Night Dream. There's all sorts of stories that find themselves, and Baroque composers really knew how to write stories into music and really hear. There's one piece called The Elements, which really kind of brings you face to face with.
You won't believe that it was written in that era. It's so contemporary in the sound.
It will be a wonderful, wonderful evening also with somebody who, he's also the director of the Handel-Haydn Society, the kind of the biggest Baroque group, I guess, in the States, and to get this level of authentic music making, I think, is very rare in around these parts.
Absolutely.
So I'm very excited about that.
So then we move on to Saturday and Sunday, and I know we only have a few minutes left.
Oh God, we're basically
we're way behind.
Yeah.
But two extraordinary programs, each concluding with masterworks, and so we have clips of the Mendelssohn String Quartet or the Tchaikovsky, the Nutcracker.
I think just for sake of time, we'll probably kind of not play the clips, but I really, really, really recommend both of these concerts because we go from a kind of quite a dark opening weekend in terms of thematically to this journey of resilience and kind of joy. We have the Fanny and Felix Mendelssohn, brother and sister, who inspired one another and wrote some of two of the most unbelievable pieces that were inspired. Mendelssohn, directly from after his sister died, wrote his most stirring and moving quartet, and we have these two incredible composers in the middle who wrote during the Second World War, after the Second World War, and were Jewish composers who escaped. Some of them escaped actually because Tedesco moved to the U.S. and became a teacher of, amongst others, John Williams. But he wrote some film music, but just wrote this amazing guitar quintet. Schulhoff, unfortunately, didn't make it out of the camp, but wrote this actually incredibly fun and joyful piece, the Divertissement. And then this concert I can't wait for as well. If you know Piazzolla, a piece about the history of tango, from the bordellos to the contemporary dance club. It's an absolute joy. And Tchaikovsky, the Nutcracker, that we will play on two pianos.
A little holiday.
And we have Michael Young, who's going to be a percussionist from YCA, won the YCA award this year, the Erwin Jacob Fellow, Jacobs Fellow, and he's in residence, and he's going to be playing some Bach and some so it's not really wonderful concerts today.
So let's talk a little bit about the Synergy series this summer. Opening night is part of that initiative. And we can, if you want to talk a little bit about Dan Tepfer, but I would love to show the video that we have for Counterpoints.
So Dan Tepfer, one of my favorite jazz pianists, has come up with an amazing algorithm. So he plays this piano that takes what he's playing and translates it both visually to stunning visuals at the moment, but also some of these things react to what he's playing in real time and plays back musical reactions. it's hard to explain, but it's really it's mind-blowing. I really, if you should check this out, it's going to be in this space, and so seating is limited. I really recommend you check him out. He played with Renee Fleming as well. He's very, very well known. And then we have the return of Caleb Teicher and Conrad Tao, tap dancer, pianist, explosion.
Yeah. Allison, will you play that clip? This will be a brand new program if you saw the one that was on the winter season.
Tiny desk?
It's wonderful. If you didn't see the first performance, do not miss. I think this performance is actually almost sold out. We'll be incorporating some other musicians from the festival, and they will reprise this work. So they promised to, because it was such a fan favorite. So please check that out. And then if we have time, or you can just close it out, we were going to talk a little bit about California Dreamin', or The Road to Victory, or the finale, and a few other highlights.
So just to one of the concerts towards the end of the festival, California Dreaming, is the story of not Los Angeles, but the West Coast, focused on Los Angeles, but not only. How composers moved there, composers, like Rachmaninoff ended up living in LA and writing there. Rosha, who ended up writing the famous score for Ben-Hur, but one of the most renowned and successful film composers, but wrote this incredible piece. But then some composers, more contemporary composers, including John Williams, John Adams, Rina Ismail, wonderful composers who made LA and the West Coast what it is. So it's kind of telling the story of this region in music. And then we have, what was it? The road to victory. Yes, the kind of stories of composers. How do you say? It's just getting above or writing pieces that kind of rise above their circumstances, from the war, from war to kind of social injustice, and writing these pieces that just lift you up and are absolutely triumphant.
We do have a piece with Anthony McGill.
Anthony McGill playing. Oh yeah, the Coleridge Taylor, one of the great Afro-English, Afro-British composers, who wrote a piece that's actually, I think, probably after Dvorak and Brahms, the most beautiful clarinet quintet.
We have a little bit of the opening melody. And Anthony will be playing this here.
It's a gorgeous piece. And lastly, I just want to finish with our last concert. The finale was also almost sold out. finale, which we call a song and dance. Wonderful pieces, all of them. I'm sure you've recognized some of those, and some of the best musicians in the world. But I do want to focus on something that I've been wanting to do for a while, which is the symphonic dances from West Side Story for 2 pianos and 2 percussionists. So we have this kind of suite that Bernstein did himself from West Side Story for these instruments, and I really can't wait to play it, and it will really be a celebration.
Absolutely.
You have a little clip from that too?
We do.
All right. I expect you to participation in that. Thank you. I hope you can join us for all of these. I'm sorry that I'm playing in a few minutes, so I'm going to leave you. But thank you for joining us. It's a very, very exciting season ahead, and I hope to see you all there.
And thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Ooh, be careful.